Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of the One Thing podcast. I'm Dr. Adam Rindy, and I'm so delighted to welcome on a special guest today whose name is Maya Ashkenazi Otmazin. She is the CEO and co founder of Maolac, which is a company that's using AI technology to develop nutraceuticals. We had a amazing conversation, and I'm excited to share some of the research they're doing on human breast milk and analyzing the proteins and components of human breast milk and developing biosimilar proteins from human breast milk to use in nutraceutical products. Some of their proteins that they've identified, they're using in uh, products that are helping with digestive health, such as with intestinal permeability, otherwise known as leaky gut. They're also looking at proteins that are helping with muscle recovery, skin health, and more. The conversation was very interesting. She's a scientist who has training in pharmaceutical development, and she has a master's in various degrees of biochemical engineering, and they have really developed a way of using AI to really speed up the process of analyzing data that can be used to develop these types of nutraceuticals. So we talk a lot about the technology. We talk about the importance of human breast milk in health, some of the properties of human breast milk. We go into looking at how these therapies can be used and how these nutraceuticals are developed and can be applied towards health. Some of their work is already being researched in human trials, and some of their nutraceuticals are being used in products to help with these issues. The conversation was very interesting and very deep, and it was great to have Maya join us from Israel, where she's heading up this company. Maya is a very special, dynamic person. She was already named by Forbes magazine as one of the top 30 people under 30. And so I think you'll enjoy her energy and her passion for what she's doing. So without further ado, I welcome you to this episode of the One Thing podcast. Maya, welcome to the One Thing podcast. I know it's been a lot of work to get together. I'm so delighted that we're finally here speaking.
Definitely. Same is here.
Great. So I thought we could start our conversation hearing how someone with your background in science and engineering ended up in the world of studying the therapeutic applications of human breast milk.
So actually, it's an interesting story because everything started at early when I first became a mother, basically. But also through my second years in college. What really amazed me is the ability of the immune system to to predict the baby's need even during the pregnancy. And in a way, I, I I decided to look at it in a different way. Think about it like every one of us, we have our cell phone, for example, whatever it's iPhone, Android. We always remember to update the version of it. Um, and in a way, if you think of nature's way to update its biological ability for different, as you call it, different therapeutic conditions, whether they are related to immunology or other things like allergies, the ability to to be part of a certain climate changes and literally everything. There is just one substance that we tend to avoid because most of the time it's correlated to babies. But if you think about it, not from the perspective of white liquid substance that babies consume, you will realize that that is a matrix that is being updated to make sure that we will survive in a way, in the best way. And in Maolac, for example, we do not look at breast milk for the entire composition of it. We look at the proteomic within breast milk, which is a different angle. Okay, and we realized after researching that breast milk contains more than 1,500 proteins. Okay, and immediately we thought, okay, so maybe those are protein that the baby need. We don't need it as adults. So we developed an AI system that will help us to do everything automatically because we are lazy in a way. We are scientists. We wanted to understand what are those protein, what are their biological cascade, what are they trying to catalyze if those are enzymes, and then we were amazed because we realized that those protein are not something that you have and need just when you are a baby. Those are the protein that you and me, our body produce from the amino acids we eat in our daily diet. So basically, we realize that the glycoprotein, antibodies, structural protein, hormones, all of those protein are not just there when we are babies. They are there for the entire course of our life. So we need it. So using that as a gold standard, imagine that you have a football team, okay? There are a lot of players in the team, but there is most of the time one or two stars. So without them, the team would probably not be as successful as it is. So this is the exact thing with the proteomic part within breast milk. So the ability to take that as a gold standard for performance and also for safety, because if a baby consume it and it's safe for a baby, it will be safe for us as well. So taking that, putting it with our unique technology and system, really bring a unique capability within our field of producing and predicting new bioactive. So it's not a gimmick in a way if you think about it. It's like the nature's Bible.
Mm-hmm. That is a really interesting way to look at it. I've never thought about it. And while you were speaking, I was thinking how you mentioned that the body's adapting to the environment and the changes that humans face, and really the matrix of the breast milk, as you say, shows all that. It's
Exactly.
it's a even what's in the breast milk, as far as what mothers are being exposed to, and um, so did was that something that was just a surprise discovery for you, or was it kind of
Yes.
built on?
Yeah. It was a surprise. It was not the initial hypothesis when we initially started. And then, like right now, today for Maolac, when we created libraries, proteomic libraries of different substance, natural substance that exist in nature. They can be from botanical extract, different plant, or from an animal source, like algae, fungi, yeast, or unique plant, or from the dairy industry, like colostrum, and other sources for proteins that are animal based. And the algorithm we created, we call it Maurica. Basically, it's a Google search engine for bioactive for the nutraceutical industry. And we try to predict within AI tool, NLP, bioinformatics, and things like that, like from millions of articles and also our libraries, what would be a potential formulation for a specific indication, like a biological need or a metabolic need. The algorithm basically within seconds, again, you can really select like how many articles you want to analyze, which section, what are the inclusion and exclusion criteria for the analysis, what are the amount of years you would like to explore, and things like that. The algorithm will scout or predict the best combination of protein for that indication. And then you can control and ask the algorithm in which library you want to find those proteins, but not just find them, to find them in high percentage of biosimilarity to the same protein that our body knows, like human proteome. Okay. And then we basically calculate we compare the protein, the suggested formulation, from a sequence perspective, three-dimensional structure, and modification. So we were able to create a mathematical model that take all of that together and give you a number. The higher that number is, of course, 99, 95, and things like that, the basically the performance or the potential of our body to harness those protein from a suggested source would be increased. And therefore, you will create a bioactive that would work in small dosages, that would be effective within our body. Our body also would know how to dissolve it and harness what it needs and take out all the rest.
Okay, so are these are simulated models that are the experiment with that of finding how likelihood this is going to be a biosimilar agent? Is that all done in a computer setting, or does it also get like translated to like traditional studies like with rodents? And
It's a great question. So if you think about it, we start from scientific data, like scientific literature, okay? Then we go back to a mathematical model which predicts similarity and do a comparison to gold standard. Breast milk, by the way, the proteome of breast milk is just one of the gold standards for efficacy and safety that we use. At the end, Maolac is not a company that create technology or license. We literally take the knowledge and and produce, extract those protein from different sources and create new bioactive. We produce those powders from different sources, and then we are becoming more conservative. Like you said, we take the product, we test it in three levels. We tested in ex-vivo model, in-vivo model, and at the end, clinical trial. So even though we start from a tool that tried to predict efficacy and everything, and by the way, up until now, all the products that we created have never been reformulized in a way, never, because the suggested formulation from the algorithm was so precise. So we always had very good results within those three models, um, but we always complete the cycle. We start from tech, but at the end, we test it in relevant models.
great. So it sounds like compared to like traditional nutraceutical um, production or manufacturing, this is designed to scale quite well as far as supply chain and resources and ability to to kind of formulate product. Is that accurate?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, we look at ourselves, Maolac, basically, as a modern ingredient company. Because instead of having dozens of PhDs and R&D department and doing all everything the opposite, most of the time you find a botanic extract and then you try to understand, okay, what are the active molecule, what is it good for, how we can extract it in a cost effective way. You basically ask the question like you reverse engineer it. No, we come from the need. We understand the need. We use Moreka, the AI platform, to fit, to create a perfect fit for the need. We control the source. We can ask, remember, we can ask the platform, we want it to be plant-based, we want it to be animal-based, we want it to be from the algae family. So we do it in a different way. And the entire process, instead of taking years, okay, and millions of dollars even before selling 1 gram of it, literally take seconds. The entire R&D section, it's not seconds, it's minutes, by the way. But the rest, like the preclinical, the IP regulation, production, scale up, and everything, take between 18 to 24 months up until you can commercialize a product that you found within a click of a button.
Yeah, amazing.
Imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, like the, if we were to bring some other people into this conversation, like the patients, the people struggling with different health problems that you've found solutions for, who would those people be? Like who are we serving ultimately? Like what's the end game of what you're doing?
So our end game basically is to be more precise and to bring, if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, for example, we are not there, but if we look at it, we see that for the last 15 years, we haven't discovered or produced any new drug. That's weird. Aren't we evolving? All the new drugs are basically biological drugs. Okay? So, have you ever thought about the fact that maybe in the nutraceutical space we need to do the same? If we really wanna. So, when we say that Maolac is in the forefront of bioactive and things like that, it's not a gimmick. We really want to bring the solution of biological molecules into the nutraceutical space. And we want to do it for different population, whether it's a population of people that suffers from leaky gut to children that has a growth problem, athletes, professional athletes, that it's crucial for them to preserve muscle mass and the ability of for their muscle to increase and improve performance is the recovery. So great, we will bring products for that as well. Also, healthy aging. So we can literally find a marketing need and a population, a segment within a population that up until now the solution are or drugs or something that is not good enough in the nutraceutical space. Those would be the perfect candidate for us because we can really do something for them and not be another curcumin or another something out there.
Yeah, so for people who, are new to the word biologic and comparing that to bioactive peptides. So like when I think of like a biologic, I think of the precision of knowing how to intercept inflammation, like an imbalance in inflammation, where if the body's gone awry in some direction, having like a precision target to turn off that inflammation or dampen it. So, like with a bioactive peptide, can we compare that just so the concept? How would a bioactive peptide behave differently versus, someone says, well, I'm just going to cure my leaky gut by, drinking turmeric every day?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to clarify that the solution that we bring are not peptide based, they are full proteins, or they are not peptides, they are bigger. Um, to your question, if I understood it right, inflammation is something good, is a good mechanism, an important mechanism that we have to preserve in, and it takes part in all of our system. Okay, there is an inflammation, there is systemic inflammation, there is inflammation within the gut, and remember I told you that the MaolactinTM platform has an inclusion and exclusion criteria. For example, you ask the algorithm to find key key protein within inflammation cascade, but then you want to be precise. You want to make sure that you balance the right molecules for inflammation within epithelium gut cells, or so that has small nuances that biologically speaking are crucial. And another thing that we have to understand and remember, our body is a complex machine. In a way, you cannot divide mechanism. They are not living in vacuum in a way. So everything is connected. So it's good. So basically, when you treat inflammation or balance it, you can help elderly that suffers from diabetes and a lot of things, because we know that different parameters within even their blood analysis and things like that, if you would be able to control the systemic inflammation, all the other background disease like the inflammation um, immediately would be improved. So I think in a way, in our decade, having an AI is a blessing, is not a curse. Because the human mind, even if we are smart people, will not be able to integrate and to process so many data and cross references in a way that will create new data that you can use as treatment. I don't know if you fully understand what I'm saying, but it's like neurons within your brain. Your ability to create a vast network of neuron and to make it faster and more efficient is to have the ability to do a lot of things simultaneously, and and by the way, by doing that, having the ability to also isolate any neuron and understand what is pathway in the big picture. So that is why that the new approach is something that we need to embrace. That would take us to a different era of treating our body with natural sources. There are a lot of company that uses AI that synthesize peptides, use fermentation and things like that. For us in Maolac, it was crucial to not do it, to find within nature where we can find the most biosimilar protein. And another thing that is important to understand, that within our product, by the way, there is never one protein in the formulation. We are talking about 10 to 15 protein in any formulation. It's a different concept. Imagine that you need to assemble and produce by hand picking or like 10 molecules, 13 molecules. It would not be cost effective. You can only dream about it. But when you do it from a natural source and you create a valid process, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah, I love how you explain that, and it's sort of makes me think, in a diseased body, which is like a very unstable um, environment that's dealing with, like you said, inflammation that might be helpful, other inflammation that might not be helpful. Um, sort of the early human mind conclusions. Thank thank goodness that this happened. Was, oh well, prednisone, it shuts the whole thing down and gets the system stable for the time being, and it's obviously saved lives and been a great discovery for and still used to this day. But it doesn't do what you're saying, which is like precisely dampen what is actually needed and leave open the therapeutic and the helpful aspects of inflammation that can help with health or recovery from illness. So yeah, I get what you're saying, and it makes complete sense with AI that we're limited in our ability to find these nuances. Like it would take years and years and years of discovery to find the nuances that AI can find in the midst of integrating all this different data. And as someone who's just kind of like a clinician, you really explain that to me well, because it's like even reading a research study through an AI lens, you can find nuances that you never would have picked up.
Probably.
Unless you read the paper 5 or more times, so, well, that's really helpful. So I think the thing that I'd say that we could go into further is, there's a lot of people that have heard of animal breast milk products or bioactives, such as like colostrum. And besides the obvious that it's from an animal, not a human, what's the differences? You can kind of explain on a basic level between biosimilar proteins and just like using animal colostrum for therapeutic benefits.
So maybe we need to really let the people that will probably hear it explain why we are referring specifically to colostrum. So the first branded ingredient that we created here in Maolac are based on colostrum. We created Maolac. The name of the branded ingredient, we call it Maolactin, and we have two different formulations from the same substance, Maolactin GI, that contains 11 proteins to work within two different cascades. One, preserving the mucus barrier within the gut to increase immunity, and also treating the second mechanism in the same formulation is treating inflammation within the gut epithelium, increasing the pH level. People that are suffering from leaky gut, they have inflammation with those tissue, the internal gut. Inflammation reduces the pH even lower, creating an environment that is not good for microbiome to thrive. And we basically balance that and create a better surrounding for a good microbiome, for a good flora. And this is the Maolactin GI. The Maolactin FMR contains 13 proteins. There, the mechanism is a bit different. The mechanism is geared towards systemic inflammation and muscles. We have different structural proteins that you can find mostly within the structure of muscle, building muscle, tearing up muscle, everything like that, like different filaments. And we position that ingredient into two main population. One population is sports nutrition, everyone that are doing intense workout, like to preserve muscle, muscle mass, improve recovery, and things like that, and also healthy aging, because we know that due to age, the ability to preserve muscle mass is reducing significantly, and it sits at the core of everything related to mobility, active lifestyle, inflammation, and things like that. Okay, so colostrum in nature, it's just like breast milk, but for cows. Different mammal. What I'm trying to say is that it's a matrix that contains, it's a bulk, in natural bulk that contains a lot of substance, a lot of molecules. Most of them, in a way, can contradict themselves. Let's take inflammation for an example. You have pro-inflammatory protein and anti-inflammatory protein. So basically, if a healthy person would consume a colostrum-based product, I don't know, in a way, if it could really be beneficial. Okay, it really depends on a lot of factors. Some of the people might even feel a burden on their immune system, and due to that would be tired for different reason. Remember that it's a bovine colostrum, so the idea of the protein, think about it, like the modification, three-dimensional structure, okay, is a bit different than the human proteins. So it will basically be reflected with the potency of the ingredient within our body, the dosages. And another thing that I don't know, people don't tend to think about it. Colostrum has a very strong smell, taste, texture, solubility, which is not a good. Um, and from if you will take it from a scientific perspective, the Maolactin series is totally different because we take only the protein that has 95% similarity to the human protein for specific indication, and the protein, when we create it, that it become it it's so different than the initial source. Colostrum, you might look at it as a replacement for whey, like something that work like milk protein, another source for milk protein that has nutritional value. Don't look at it as a substance that has bioactive capabilities, because it is not true. It is not true for humans, at least. But when you know what you need to extract, this is the Maolactin series. The Maolactin is precise, high similarity, and by the way, the functional protein, they have no smell, no taste. They are neutral, and when you dissolve them even in water, the water would taste, look, and remain the same. So we need to understand, like, the strength, as we see in Maolac, is to take a natural source, identify the indication, and enhance the natural source capability within the human body. So it's different. And colostrum, take the story of it and put it with different sources. Okay.
That makes sense. And so the male lectin series, even though you have like individual formulas, you're also looking to, or I should ask you, are you looking to cross formulate with other manufacturers, or is it meant to be taken by itself?
So it really depends on the brand. Okay. We do look at Maolactin as a hero ingredient. Okay. You need to use it in small dosage. Nevertheless, the Maolactin GI can really go super good with a species of like uh, probiotics, certain species of probiotic. So it really can work. I don't know. Some brand would put it in the same product. Some brand would advise people to take it with. something like that to have a better effect. It really depends. I'm just giving an example. Here, but we when we created it in our mind as a hero ingredient. Another thing that we have in our technology as Maolac, and again, it is not related to a specific source, is the fact that when we create our product, we with the powdered form ingredient, we create the protein in a with a delivery system. Basically, we mimic. It's not a chemical reaction; it's a more physical process that we do that really help the protein preserve and obtain high bioavailability and high stability. So those are the only protein that are quite stable in an acidic environment. And everything I'm saying here, we tested, we have been validated in ex-vivo, in-vivo, and in clinical trials. Okay. And those protein are the only protein that you can cook for 10 minutes, 90 degree, and they are not losing functionality. So and we can do it whether it's colostrum, algae, fungi, or yeast. So this is another thing that important because most of the time when you take colostrum or you take other protein-based solution in supplement, um, most of the time you get a good substance, a good amount of amino acids. That's it, because everything is degrading. Our product is degraded as well, okay, but it degrades slower and in a way that allows the the dynamic within the body to be more effective.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think it's easy to, understand how um, it needs to be preserved to get to where it needs to go through the gut, which is a very can be a very volatile environment for substances to go through. So yeah, so I'm thinking about one of these properties, and maybe we could just go deeper into it. So I was thinking about like the IgG immunoglobulins that may be part of those 11. I don't know, but I'm just curious, like, um, any thoughts about what they're doing for people? Say, a lot of the listeners struggle with ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, and it might be helpful just to kind of understand, like, well, this is giving something different than their biologic medication. Um, taking Maolac is doing something therapeutic that the biologic medicine might not be able to do. And I'm thinking maybe if we could talk about the immunoglobulins and what that might be providing.
Okay, it's a good question because IgGs as a family of antibodies is one of the most important one in the human body. Um, and we need to remember that putting antibodies in not a drug formulation has a lot of problem. Okay. Um, Colostrum, for example, is a substance contains IgG, G's. Let's put it the S at the end. But when we used our mathematical model to calculate the similarity of those IgGs to human IgG, we discovered that it is similar than less than 40%. What I'm trying to say by that, okay? Few things. We are talking about breast milk, we are talking about human pregnancy. Let's dive deeper. When we look at human pregnancy, for example, through the placenta, there is a transaction, if we can call it like that, of antibodies. They are going from the mother to the baby through the placenta. Um, So this is why, in a way, not just IgGs, yeah, but antibodies and immune cells and things like that. So in a way, this is why our babies can survive without being breastfed, and we can give them like baby formula and things like that. A lot of people have no idea that a cow, through pregnancy, basically there is no overlapping or any antibodies that are going through the mother to the baby. Nothing through the entire pregnancy. So in a way, a young calf that would get out to this world and will not get the colostrum in the first hours of its life will die. Okay, they will die. So this is why the colostrum, in a way, is richer in antibodies. So it sounds like the perfect match. But those antibodies are not relevant for us as humans. They would be the one that will create burden on our immune system. So in a way, if you put aside the marketing story and you stay true to the scientific story, you realize that there is a different truth. For example, the Maolactin series, whenever we use immunoglobulins, IgGs, we do not use the entire IgG. We use IgG like domains, which are fraction. When we look at an antibody, any antibody, we have the light chain and we have the heavy chain. By the way, it's the logo of Maolac, if everyone would like to ever check. So when you see a drop and then you see an antibody, so you see the light chain and heavy chain. So when we say that we do not say we have immunoglobulins, we have IgGs like domains that are 95% similar within sequence and structure. So basically, those fragments, when given to a human body, the immune system and in our blood circle would be considered as something that would potentially activate in a good way our immune system. So we need to understand that, and we need to really not believe everything we see. We need to ask ourselves, is the antibodies within a product? What does it mean? Okay, and I say if contain antibody, there is a reason that when we take vaccines, we have antibodies that has been modified to the human body. The antibodies within colostrum are not relevant to us if you don't know what are the right section that you need to use.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, so that was really helpful. Thank you for explaining that. As one of my friends says, the future is here. It's up to us to be ready for it. It's already here.
I agree.
So this is really exciting to see kind of where we're going with applications of therapeutics and how precise we're getting. And it will be exciting for me, and I've already observed this, to see the list of side effects go down and the list of long-term implications go down for, medicine. It's
Hopefully.
yeah, I'm already seeing it in the world inflammatory bowel disease world, just with the new drug discoveries that we're having to warn of less things. Of course, we have years to kind of live with these medications and see how it all pans out, of course. So with that, I think this was a really good first appearance on the One Thing podcast. I hope this is the start of others, and I would love to just kind of turn things over to you for some final like a take home message, and to kind of tell us more about Maolac and how people can follow what you're up to and continue to support your work.
So thank for the opportunity of being here and presenting the story of Maolac here. Um, I would really like people that um, are looking for innovation in that field, are looking for something new, and not be another vitamin or whatever. Really to do something, okay? Um, to follow Maolac, to follow us through social media, LinkedIn, our website, um, because the Maolactin series is literally just the beginning. In our pipeline, we are going to launch other proprietary ingredients that could really help us a lot. Different population, as you said, that we know that need solutions that are not drug based. Be aware, because we are bringing good solution for that as well. Everything is being tested, everything is being validated scientifically, clinically. We will never put a product in the market without validating it on our own, not just through the AI tool. And we would be happy to get feedback. When we work with a brand, we don't look of how we can make money. Uh, of course, not just that. We really look of how we can contribute with our ingredient where others are not. If we will not be able to innovate and to bring solutions that are valid, we will not be there. We are not trying to be more of the same. And hopefully, one day, our technology would be um, strong enough, let's put it that way, that we might even consider taking it into a more professional world. Um, so, really, stay tuned, reach out to us in Maolac. We are quite open to anyone that has question. It's important for us to really convey the message and show solution. We are going to be in any all the big trade shows, Supply Side East, Supply Side West, VitaFood, Asia region for new ingredient. So we are there. Come and meet our team. Ask the question. Try the product. Immediately, you will see that it's a different concept.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here, Maya.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the One Thing podcast. Please share these episodes with your friends, loved ones, colleagues, patients, healthcare providers, anyone who you feel might benefit from hearing these informative interviews. We tend to learn best from people sharing things with us. That's often the first time it's introduced. So don't hesitate. If the content of these episodes reminded you of someone that might benefit, forward the episode to them, and I'm sure they'll either appreciate it or be appreciative that you've thought of them. So once again, we'll look forward to seeing you next episode on the One Thing podcast. And again, much appreciation for you being here with me.